So very excited to be here. When I heard the title of this conference, the theme of this conference, I was thinking, wow, that's really great. Transformation, that's really what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to transform insights into concepts. We're trying to transform ideas into viable business models. We're trying to transform metrics into meaning. We're trying to transform, I guess, a group of divided silos in a company into a well-cooperating structure. And I thought it's a bit like alchemy. We're all digging for gold, aren't we? We're all looking for those services that exactly match customer needs, that make our clients profit, that work just smoothly across all channels. We're all looking for that kind of gold. And just like the alchemist did, you know, transforming stuff into gold and looking for the recipe for that. So we're going to be talking about alchemy the next 20 minutes. I hope I get my slides back. If not, I'll improvise. So ideally, we're in this lab and we have all the ingredients, we have all the post-its up on the wall and the personas and the journeys, and we have the great customer insights, and we have everyone on board, everyone's cooperating with us, and we're through alchemy, we're creating this gold. But in reality, that's not quite the case. We all know how hard it can be, we all know how fuzzy it can be, we all know how siloed up companies are. We know how hard it is to get real good budget for real good service design projects. We also know how hard it is to get people on board. We know how hard it is to get the people within companies who are metric-based and quantitative research-based to believe in qualitative data. And that makes the lab quite messy. Now, my talk is about not that we found gold. Wim and I did not find gold. But we did found 5 ingredients for gold, and I'm going to share those 5 with you. And I hope I know them by heart. The first one is, and it's been, so that's the gold slide, right? We're all looking for gold. This is the messy lab that I talked about. It's black, it's dark, it's a mess. We have all that equipment lying about, and we don't really know what to do with it. This is Wim. Wim is the chief alchemist in this story, and he's really good at transforming stuff into gold. He's practiced. His job is he works at an insurance company called Aura. And he's the head of customer intelligence, he's the head of customer experience, and he's the head of brand. Now, that's a nice combination. It's a nice triangle there. And we call him the chief alchemist in this story. And this is me. I'm the advisor to the chief alchemist, and I had the honor to do a great project with Wim, consulting him and doing research for him for his company. And here we are at work. And again, you see the 7 days diaries that Carrie already also referenced to. And we're doing this really big, nice service design project with 5 learnings. So here we go. We found 5 ingredients. Ingredient number 1 is that you want to combine the quantitative research with the qualitative research, exactly like Carrie said, exactly like Joel Bailey also said. We say quantitative research builds the set, it builds the foundation, but qualitative research builds the story. And just like Carrie said, it's the what and the why. So quantitative research tells you what the problem is. This is a customer journey map, and it's just a rough sketch, but by going through the quantitative data that Aura had lying about and all their research reports and all their customer satisfaction metrics, we could allocate to the customer journey map where the real pain was, where customers were happy, where the pain was, where many transactions took place. And basically we could say, listen, we need to focus here, we need to focus there. This is what we need to solve. Then the qualitative research, we know this, the diaries, the home visits, the deep interviews with customers, that tells you why it is a problem. Why are people having a painful moment in a certain transaction? Why are they insulted by a certain letter? Why are they encountering friction when calling a call center? And that combination is vital. You really need both. So that's ingredient number 1. Ingredient number 2 is if you oil stain your process, meaning if you spread it out as wide as possible, your impact snowballs. What does that mean? For us, what we did was we had a core team in the project with us as consultants and 5 of WIM's managers. And you see us at work here with them. So you see us basically going through the project, not for them, but with them. We did house visits with that team. We did analysis and immersion sessions with that team. We built the journeys with that team. So a core group of people was involved in everything we did. What that did was then we sent these people out to their own teams, to their own departments, to work with their people, and basically train them these tools, share those insights with them, help their people understand what we were doing. So within a month in the project, we had reached about 100 people. Within 2 months, we had reached about 200 people in the organization. Everyone using these tools, talking about the same insights, talking about the same, referencing to the same research data, the same people, the same personas, and that was really, really powerful. That snowballed. That led to so many initiatives in the organization, in different parts of the organization, you know, not only the people that you would expect to be involved in service innovation, but also the people at IT, the people in the call center, you name it. They were all building initiatives based on this data. So that snowball effect was really big. Obviously, that costs a lot of time and a lot of energy, but again, the impact is so big that it's well worth it. Ingredient number 3, we found that if you really narrow your scope, you can broaden your horizon. What does that mean? It's tempting for a service designer to walk into an organization and say, listen, you have this whole customer journey and we're going to redesign it. We're going to redesign your customer experience from the beginning to end because so much is wrong and we see all these great opportunities and we'll get to work. Well, obviously, chances are you're out the door before you can say customer journey, right? This puts you in a place where the previous talker, Jill, talked about fluffy. You know, that makes us fluffy. No, you need to focus. So what we did in this project, this is the whole journey that we mapped out based on the first 3 weeks of research. So this is, you could say this is a sketch. This is a draft. It says, it has some insights, it has some metrics in the top. We looked at their Net Promoter Score, and we could allocate that to the journey. We could say, what are the numbers of people that actually go through these stages? We had some initial insights, we had some initial ideas, etc. But then we discovered that the real pain, or the pain that was most essential to start solving, was right at the beginning, when people don't even have an insurance yet. They're just orienting. They're trying to get information. They're trying to understand what kind of insurance they need. So we focused on that. So this is zooming in to that first stage where people are trying to buy or trying to get information about an insurance. And it's a messy, messy, messy process. Here we went really deep. We interviewed a lot of people. We went through their homes, talked about what do you do exactly to get that insurance and what motivates you? What are you looking for? What do you like? What do you hate? And we tried to make a nice journey map, and it didn't work. There was no journey. It was not a straight line, not at all. It was this big, messy thing that if you, basically people will orient themselves to build a set of criteria for their search. Then they would not use those criteria in their search. Then they would find something and they would start to enter a form, and the form would ask them a question that they wouldn't know the answer to. Do you want the people that drive with you also insured? Hell, I don't know. Google that. The Google ad of a competitor insurance would pop up and they would go for that ad. It was a big mess. And so that's why we made them gears. If you turn that one gear, everything changes and everything turns. Now this is one thing. The next thing was that in parallel to our research, or right after our research, Google, Think Insights, and GfK did a very large-scale quantitative study on exactly the same topic. How do people orient and buy insurances? And they could, through following clicks and all that stuff, exactly define the journeys of about, I think, 1,000 or 1,500 people through websites. What did they Google? What did they look for? How did they use comparison sites? How did they go from one site to the other? So again, this confirms or it supports the qualitative data. And it's a really powerful combination. And now you could say that Aura knows everything about that one stage at the beginning of their journey. Why is that so important? Because basically they find that, and that's the next ingredient, it's the fifth, I'm sorry. I'll come to that later. If you want to see the change, you want to be the change. So if you want to transformationally have transformation through service design, you can't go about your existing processes, can you? You have to really do something different. And you have to show this difference. And that's too bad that Wim Rampe isn't here, because he really showed the change. He really demonstrated to his people and to his staff that if you want to change an insurance company around, you need to do things differently. So first of all, he hired a different consultancy, us. We come from a design background. We're not the regular consultants that his people were used to. We had an entirely different approach. We were purely qualitatively based. We were mostly designers. We had some business people involved, but we were mostly designers. And it was a very different process. Next to that, we came and worked in their building. We had a customer journey lab there. So we were not the regular consultant coming in once a week, having meetings or whatever. No, we had a customer journey lab in their offices that you can see up there that we spent 2 or 3 days per week in, and that we invited people to join us. We invited people to be part of our work. So we were doing work for them. We were working with them. So all day we had meetings with different people from different backgrounds, getting them through all that data and all those insights. Next to that, Wim is a regular blogger. He's a real preacher. He loves to share his insights and be part of the service design community. So he also demonstrates to his people how he's developing these thoughts on transformational service design, taking them to conferences like this, and really changing their mindset. And I think that's really great to see. In that sense, he's a manager, but he's a real design thinker, and I really appreciate that about him. And there's ingredient number 5. If you focus on value and not on volume, you get a whole different mindset. If we go back to the story about the beginning of the decision journey, right, where people look for insurances, what happens is that they end up not really understanding their own criteria set. They don't really understand what they're buying. They don't really understand why they're buying it. I mean, you have to have your car insured, but is it really a product I want to buy? And in the end, they're not happy. They've bought a black box that they don't really understand. Now, if you buy a black box that you don't really understand, what's the value of that black box? Anything that's €1 cheaper, or £1 cheaper, or $1 cheaper, you will go for. So there's this revolving door. There's this enormous churn. After 1 year, people leave, go for the next cheap offering, because they don't understand what they bought. There's no real value in it. And churn is a real challenge for these insurance companies. Now, you're pulled into this price battle, right? Because you have these comparison websites, you have social media, you have people talking about advising each other on insurances. And it's easy to be the cheapest, because if you're the cheapest, you get this volume. But then if this volume churns every year, that's really expensive in terms of marketing. That's really expensive in terms of the initial costs you're making to get a customer on board. So focus on value instead. Now, that pretty much turns an organization around. And I'm not saying this is done yet. I'm not saying this is finished, not at all. But Aura is working on it. Aura is working on stepping out of that volume game, maybe not being the cheapest, but being the most valuable for certain target groups. Pretty hard game to play, but they're getting better at it. What you see here is, for example, that if you have people coming to your website to get information about insurances, and you immediately draw them into their sales funnel, and you immediately say, ask for a proposal here, fill in your data here, people leave again. Because they don't want to buy an insurance, they want information about an insurance. That's an entirely different thing. So why don't you split those two? Why don't you give them information if they're looking for information, and give them the ability to ask for a proposal if that's what they're looking for? Now, where do people come from your website? They usually come from Google, they come from other websites, they come from comparison sites. And their search history sort of tells you what you may want to offer them here on your own website. So we're experimenting right now at Aura to redefine what we're offering people. Don't sell them something they don't want. Give them information first. Focus on value, not on volume. And this is something that is also being worked on. And it was mentioned before. Once you've bought that insurance, you have no idea. You bought something you don't really want. You're not very happy with it. You get the bill. Why do I need to pay this? So there's this gray zone after the purchase that you really want to confirm people that they made a good decision. Listen, these were your criteria. This is the product that matches your needs. Welcome to this insurance policy where you get what you needed, right? And if your needs change, we will change the policy. So this is a message that people are getting where that story is explained and where people get confirmation on their choice. So these are just little touch points, but all throughout the organization, these little touch points are starting to emerge. And I think it's a very good sign that Aura is starting to focus on value. Now, what is that? That's the sixth ingredient, and we haven't found it yet. We don't know what it is, because we don't think we're quite there yet. We haven't discovered gold yet. Aura is still big. There's still silos. There's still many opportunities that aren't being used. Things still go wrong. And I'm asking you, as a challenge, to help me find that sixth ingredient. I would love to hear it from you. What do you think is the sixth ingredient that you need for transformational service design to really, really land within organizations, to really make it work? So I'll be looking forward to hearing that from you. I created my own little hashtag called #ingredient6, but you can also write it down on the back of those great postcards that we got. That's it. Thank you for your attention.